What's up, gang? It's Brian B.
And Miss Emily.
With our live styling workshop here. This is being shot live on September 12th, 2020, while we're still in quasi-lockdown. Just a quick overview of what's going to go on. We've got about almost 2.5 hours today. We are going to start with basics of footwork. We're going to talk about rolling through the feet. We're going to talk about creating angles. We're going to do some apple jacks. We're going to do something for the ladies called
Dorothy heel clicks.
The Dorothy heel clicks. So we're going to go through footwork, right? So we're going to build this from the ground up. The second section that will come live here at about 1:45 will be our body isolation. So we're going to work through what goes on in the body, working through the middle of our basic patterns. And then finally, the last two beats of the pattern, the anchor step, and there's a bunch of styling opportunities there. And at that point, we'll have built our skill set using our footwork, syncopations, and isolations to attack a bunch of different things we can do with anchors. Since this is live, this is your workshop, gang. Mr. Ben is behind the camera, so you can type in your questions, and we'll be able to answer them live and work with you. Also, we have a separate Q&A if you guys want to go in depth about anything around this topic or even off topic. You're welcome to do so. We can talk about whatever you want, bourbon or horse racing or anything you want at 3:15 during the Q&A. So if you're ready, let's blast off. The first thing we're going to talk about, and I know we have leaders and followers. As I looked at the numbers, it's about 75% followers and 25% leaders. So we are going to do a leaders and followers portion of this. So Emily will be discussing specifically what goes on with the followers. But if we talk basics, we need to create our basics first. So the very first basic we're going to talk is rolling through our feet. So imagine that our feet aren't flat on the bottom. So as I'm walking back or Emily's walking forward, and we can reverse this leader follower, I want to cultivate the ability to take the weight through the toe to the ball of the foot down through my heel, right? So I want to what we call track our feet through underneath our body, taking weight into the ball of the foot before we press the heel to the ground, and then we move back. If we do it one more foot, we track the foot right underneath ourselves, right? Right as my knee passes, I'm going to take the weight into the ball of my foot, press my heel to the ground, and continue my weight. So that's moving backwards for leaders or followers, but I'll let Emily talk about moving forwards.
So followers, there's a couple of different options. Typically, if it's faster or the faster music, you're going to go the toe to the heel, but we can also do heel to toe. So we'll do heel to toe first. So we start with the heel, we step through, and the weight goes to the toe. We track the foot, then it goes heel to toe. Cool. So if we did toe to heel from here, as we go through, it goes toe to the heel and toe to the heel. So it takes time to go through the foot so you have a better understanding of where your weight is.
And don't sleep on this stuff and get bored with it. This is really the foundation, really kind of in the order we're teaching things is probably the most important part. So just if you don't believe me, if I did not roll through my feet, my 1-2 would be very clunky, right? And it would almost be worse if I did some sort of cool thing with my body because I wouldn't be able to track my body weight through my feet. So the first drill I want you to do and mess with is track the foot, roll through, and incrementally transfer your weight. Later in the workshop, we're going to talk about a legato way of moving and a staccato way, or a, what do we call it, sharp and smooth?
Yes.
Right? So the idea on one side of this, and this is getting a little ahead of ourselves, is we can move very smoothly between our feet, right? We can track our feet and transfer weight and make this very smooth. You'll hear people say, you know, man, you look like you're dancing on ice, right? Very smooth. But we could also take the same tracking of wood and choose to be very quick with it, right? And very staccato, if you will, or sharp, right? And as we go through body isolations and things like that, we're going to talk about how we'll apply them in a legato or smooth kind of way and a sharp kind of way.
Yep.
So second thing we want to talk about is tracking the feet. So what I mean by tracking, I'm actually going to go this way. Tracking means that as I'm taking a foot underneath me, right, even if I want to step out to this side, I don't want to take the foot and go right there. I want to track this foot underneath me till it passes a neutral position, and then I want to shift my body to step back at an angle. So I'm tracking this underneath myself before I step at an angle. Now if I did this with the other foot, again, I don't want to go here because I'm going to end up looking like this. I want to track this foot underneath me before I go to my new direction. So if we did that again, and then I can let Emily chime in. Do you want to say anything about tracking feet moving backwards?
Yeah, so it's going to have a different look as far as tracking goes. A lot of the questions that we get are, how do I look less robotic? and stuff like that. So this is going to help with the fluidity and the smoothness of your steps, whether you're going forward or back. But talking about the back, just making sure that there's a little bit of foot pressure before you change the weight, so it's not kind of hovering. You are still a little bit into that foot that's moving.
So here's the basics of footwork, even as we start to create angles. You can only dance forward, back, left, and right. Here's what I mean. I can dance backwards, cool? I can dance right, I can dance left, and I can dance forward, right? I really don't dance at an angle. What I do is I might dance at an angle in the room or an angle relative to the slot, but as I would rotate through here and I'm going to dance to the corner of the room, I'm creating a backward step. So now my feet and legs are organized. I would create an angle, but this is a backward step. Cool? So if we took this going forwards, right? You want to go forward? You can talk forwards.
Sure. So as we go forward, we're still going to use the toe. We're going to move the foot through as we create our new angle or new front. Then we bring our feet together, still applying that a little bit of foot pressure to step through. So bring it in, and we switch, bring it in, and we have a new front.
So everything is passing through this neutral position of the spine, and when we talk about some isolations later, we're going to talk about the moving around our spine, and that's going to leave something looking nice and clean while all of our body moves around. So let's do this one more time, going forward. So we're going to track this foot. We're not just going to step right. Actually, I'm going to have Emily do it correctly, and I'll look terrible. How's that? Just if you don't believe me.
In and out, in and out, in and out, in and out.
See, I played bad cop in that scenario. Yeah, so as you can see, you want to track underneath yourself, and then what's going to happen is you're going to have a swivel of the standing foot. So the foot you're standing on is going to swivel, and if you do this technique correctly, people will accuse you of being stylish. So kind of the way I describe style is, or rather technique in this case, is how I would approach. If I want to look like Emily stylistically, I have to understand the techniques that make it possible, right? And then how we use those just becomes like a, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite color?
Pink.
What's my favorite color? Red. What's your favorite color? Blue. Blue.
I mean, veggie blue shoes.
We call them veggie blue shoes. Cool. So we have rolling through our feet and tracking our feet. So if we took this, I guess, kind of a leaders and followers, if I were to just create these like swivelly actions, right? And we're going to talk more about the heels and toes, but let's just talk about the angles. If I were to swivel through, right, I still want to roll through my foot as I take my weight. So I still track my standing foot and take weight slowly through it. I track my standing foot or swivel my standing foot. Cool? I'll let Emily talk through the forward part.
Yes, so typically you don't want to keep your weight in your heels. So you want to make sure that the weight is a little bit forward on the toes so it's easier to move or swivel around with your feet. So when we come forward, we swivel and step through. Again, using that toe to heel, roll through the feet, and then we continue through.
Bingo. And what's going to come cool is when we get to the isolations part, we're going to add the isolations of the body along with the swiveling of the feet, and then wham, you're going to be there. Any questions so far? Good deal. So you're doing good, Emily. I think we're doing well. There's no questions. All right. So now let's talk, again, leaders are primarily moving backwards in the patterns, a lot of the cases, and followers are dealing with two steps coming forward, right? So we're going to spend some time thinking about the followers' application of all of this stuff coming forward and the leader's application going back. So because the leader, as we're anchor stepping, actually, can we switch this side just because they can see this foot? As I'm anchor stepping as the leader, right, I'm rolling through my foot. That's basic 101, right? I'm rolling through my foot, which allows me to have stretch, improves my connection, all that stuff. But as I'm rolling through this, I am rolling my weight back and down into my heel. So it's logical that I could, as a choice, work off of my heel as I step back, right? That's where we're going. Followers, hang tight. We're going to catch the leaders up first, and then we're going to spend some time with the followers. So here's what let's go back to our normal side. I guess, let's go sideways. Here's what I want you to do. This is, what are you laughing at? We're flip-flopping. Keeps it visually interesting.
Exactly.
So leaders and followers, because there's more of an application for the leaders, but followers can definitely do this. I want to practice what I call apple jacks. So I'm going to transfer the weight to the ball of my right foot and the heel of my left, right? And then we're going to switch. Maybe, can you scooch in on this camera-wise, Mr. Ben? So first we're going to practice this. Yeah, Ben's going to try to figure out how to do that on the camera. It's a different lens, so it's going to filter the opposite way, right? So we're going to go heel of the right foot, toe of the left foot, and then we're going to switch. How are we doing?
It's a balance game.
Bingo. Cool? So that's the first stage, right? Then, while that's trained in on my feet, we're going to do this sideways, and here's what's going to be hard, and this is going to take a little bit of time. You have to master this. So first I need to be able to rock back and forth, right? This is going to give me an ability to create some really cool stuff with my footwork. Next, we're going to have what's called an applejack action. So as I would pick up my right heel and my left toe, right, I would then move my right heel and my left toe to the side, right? So it's the ball of the right foot, the heel of the left, and I'm going to kick my heel internally and my toe externally. Boom, right? Then I'm going to come back to center. I'm going to change the weight of my foot, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side.
Whew.
And bring that back and switch and go over and switch and go over and switch. And we're going to take some time with that. That is a tricky thing. So we're going to start first and foremost. You can go big picture. Again, this is going to take some time. This workshop, we're going to get you some stuff practical that you'll be able to walk out of here with today, but some of it, the more advanced stuff, will take some time, right? And if it came easy, we wouldn't practice as professionals. Unfortunately, it takes time. So I need to practice this. Switching heels and toes of my feet. Just this action alone, right? That articulation of the feet, it's a tricky one for sure, right? Then I have to have the ability to switch in and out. Here's the good news. The followers is going to be much easier. So leaders, keep practicing that. I'm going to stand over here and do the leaders part. Miss Emily's going to talk about the followers application, which is much easier.
The Dorothy Hill clicks?
Yes. So we call it, can you give them the names?
Yeah.
So this is traditionally known as Applejacks. I do not know why. I've been doing it since my country dance days, but this is known as Applejacks. Give you a couple different views,
name.
right? That's what we call as Applejacks. We're going to apply that to some cool stuff underneath. Followers, Emily has a term called?
The Dorothy Heel clicks. This is what we do.
Much easier. I quit.
Hey, we have plenty of other stuff to do.
You do. You do.
Yeah, so basically we are going to keep our weight forward on the toes, and we are going to bring our heels together. So when we take this step, go ahead and start. It's what we call first position in ballet. So you're going to make your feet smile. We bring our heels together. Toes are slightly away from each other, and just try to, for the moment, go ahead and get on your toes. So your heels are hovering over the floor, and your weight is in your toes, that we talked about before. So now I just want you to bring your heels together, and then you can say, there's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Who's got on the red shoes?
Right?
Boom.
I know. Should have worn my boots.
Boom.
Anyway, so that is what we are going to work with, followers, for you.
So now if we apply this to our walk, right? Here we go. We got beginner walk, which is blocks on your feet. Yes, my coach told me once I dance like I have blocks on my feet. Then he told me that I have to imagine my feet are rounded, almost like the bottom of a rocking chair. That lets me roll through my feet. Cool? And that lets me be smooth, but still kind of one-dimensional. Then said coach told me that I have angles and that I can track my feet. We're still in the same coach, and he was not even a West Coast swing coach. So I can track my feet, right, and roll through. So that gives me an ability to move underneath myself with a little bit of style and angle. Cool? Now, if I take that to an extreme as the leader and add my Applejack action a little bit, again, I'm going to go back to this side because you're going to get to see the foot that I'm anchoring with, right? As I anchor step, as I'm finishing this step, the beginning of the next step comes from the finish of the previous, right? Triple step. As this weight is going into my heel, right, I am then tracking my feet, pushing off of my heel to land on the toe of my left foot, which looks like this drill right here, right? So again, I'm anchor step. And this moment of the weight going from the ball of my right foot to my heel, I begin my incremental weight transfer back. I swivel to the angle, picking up the toe. Then I'm going to reverse the whole thing, pulling underneath. Let's say my feet are flat-ish underneath me, onto my next step. and then I can triple step, and I got a sugar push, right? So let's do that one time slow and one time fast. We have, let's do it from the anchor step. We have 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. One more time, and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Easy part, girls.
All right, so followers, we are going to, I'm gonna face this way just a little bit. We are actually going to bend the knees a little bit too, so make sure that everything is moving together and your feet aren't moving by themselves. So from here, we're gonna have a little bit of your knees facing in as well as your toes, because then they're gonna come together for that heel click. So we have in and out, in and out. So if we did that,
I'll leave that to you. I'll look stupid if I do that.
Side to side, you are, the fun thing with this is you can add a little bit of levels to it, so it can be a little bit higher if you want, or we'll talk about this in a second. You can actually go a little bit lower if there's a kind of a hip hop beat or a little bit more of a funkier tune that you're dancing to. So from here,
Should we do the going away?
Sure. From this way, we're gonna keep our knees and toes in first. So we step and we come together, step and come together. So it is a little bit fast. This is actually going to be, you're gonna collect, so 1 and 2 and, so we can finish the, let's say sugar push, 3, or sorry.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
3 and 4, 5 and 6. So this happens on 1 and 2 and. We have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, anchor, 5 and 6.
Is it out first or in first?
In first.
In first. Could you do
Boom,
out
boom.
first?
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, see? We're just taking what's given to us and making up our own things.
Because you have to make up your own style.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. It is. It is.
We're giving you the baseline and you can take it from there.
It is true, and I think the best way to learn this, if you look at quite a few of the top dancers, I don't know that they necessarily learned something soup to nuts, right? They got a bunch of ideas. Ben's looking at me, what are you saying, buddy? You get an idea, you start to apply it, your friends tell you what looks dumb, and what's left over is your cool style. Ben's shaking his head.
It's
right?
true. You find out what works for you, because as much as we want to emulate, let's say Victoria Hink and a whole bunch of other people, what looks good on her does not necessarily look the best on you. So you got to figure out what works for you.
And since you brought that up, this is a little bit off topic, but one of the things that I considered covering in a bigger way, but I thought would bore the heck out of people, is when you look at the top dancers, they are the athletes of the gods. Is that what, who said that? Einstein?
Yeah,
Was it
I think
Einstein?
so.
Dancers
are the athletes of the gods.
Ben, look that up. Fact check that for me. Fact checkers right here.
West Coast Einstein.
But the idea that the better shape our body's in, right? And if we track this back to a 27-year-old former gymnast who's been West Coast swing dancing for 5 years, there's a lot of athleticism. So we're not all going to be able to get the same amount of range of motion. I was right with the quote. So you're not going to try to emulate Emily or myself. If you are emulating me, you have to be 45 years old and have a bad back, because those things are limiting me at this stage of my dance career, right? Emily does not have these limitations. She grew up dancing. So one of the recommendations I have is to find someone that you want to emulate that maybe is built like you. If you're like Ben, you're 6'4", the things that work on me as a compact 5'9" dancer are not the best things for Ben. Emily, the same thing, right? So try to find someone, use these things, but try to find someone to emulate that's built like you and that naturally and probably moves like you.
Who would you look to?
That's a good question.
Well, I know, but like...
No, Benji Schwimmer. Benji Schwimmer would be the one that, because he's pretty, like back in my day, I was pretty athletic, and so
With your hair, I thought Jordan.
Yeah, that would be my
It's true.
my approach. I'm a little bit more dynamic, well, in my younger days.
Cool.
Back in the day, I had that. All right, so let's kind of recap where we are so far. We got one more thing to cover, but to recap, we have rolling to the feet number 1, roll and a triple roll. Rolling through the anchor is also helpful, right? That's the basics, because if I don't have the ability to move my weight incrementally throughout my feet, I'm going to look silly. Second thing is I want to be able to create angles, so I have to create a swivel on the standing foot, right? So we're going to swivel the standing foot to step back, swivel the standing foot. So you could make an argument that I am dancing backwards to this angle, rotating backwards to this angle, and Miss Emily is dancing
Forward to my right. forward to my left.
And that will prevent, can you walk forward and I'll walk back? Stand that way and walk forward. And I'll stand this way and walk back, right?
Yep.
If I were to do this and just not swivel my feet, I would have this kind of look, right? So I have to swivel underneath myself and allow for swivel the standing foot. Now if I add the fact that I can rock through the ball of my foot to my heel, I'll go sideways again for maximum effect, I can rock and I can work off of this heel. I'm still stepping back, so it's still a nice organized clean step in my body, but I'm able to create an angle and some cool styling with my footwork. Again, always coming through the neutral position. Cool beans, same thing for the follower.
I like it. So we go, as we go forward, we create the angle, and we're basically, for now, matching the angle that the leader is giving us.
And the good thing is this works either way, right? Because of this, I have all of this freedom to do with what I want. So does the follower.
Mm-hmm. What?
Move around. I was just doing it. It was like magic, right?
Woo.
There you go. So even if I'm dancing my basics, Emily can do whatever the heck she wants underneath. It doesn't mess up with anything. I'm just petrified newbie going, I don't look like when I dance, right? Same thing, I leave this the same and I can move everything else underneath, right? Because this has stayed still, and I'm allowed to move everything underneath. Cool? Question so far? We have hitches to cover. Anything else on our footwork?
Can we do it with a sugar push, and I do my part and you do yours?
Yep. So this is what it would look like. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. How's that? Is that
Cool.
good? Did I do well?
I think so.
All right, good. So then we have hitches to create timing, and the reason why we're going to cover hitches is because it's a skill that we're going to need. We're going to put something together. Actually, this is what we're going to put together. Boom, boom, shoo. Right, so we're going to do something like that later, and we're going to need the ability to swivel, which we've covered. We're going to need the ability to hitch as well. So here's what we're going to talk about hitches. Again, leaders moving backwards. So normally I'd have 1, 2. I'd be on the right foot for count 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll my weight back and continue it back, but anchor my left foot to the floor. That's going to be count 1. Then I'm going to have to be quick with this left foot to go and to step 2, right? So if I'm counting my anchor step, 5 and 6, right? I'm delaying this 6, 1, and I'm going to pop this knee a little 1, and then I'm going to go ball change, or and 2. So from the 5 and 6, 5 and 6, pop 1. As I move my center back, I pop that knee 1, then we go ball change, and we're off to the races. So I'm going to keep doing that. Miss Emily's going to talk about it because it works a little differently or feels.
It does.
Excuse me.
So we're still going to go from our anchor step. We have 5 and 6. We're going to increase that stretch a little bit. So we have 1. We're going to replace the weight forward and 2. So let's do that again. From the anchor, we have 5 and 6, 1 and 2. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. An easy way when you're first learning is to just make sure that that core goes away. Once you've done that, after your anchor, this is 1 and 2. From there, you can do a whole bunch of other options as far as the right leg goes, but we'll talk about that
Benji,
later.
can you do me a favor and write a note? For those of you guys who have this, we're going to come up with a finished sheet when we're done that'll kind of cover the outline. And I'm also going to throw in, there's videos that go deep on all these topics. So we've got a great video on hitches that goes in much more detail than we're going to go here. But I will link that up. So Ben's going to just write me a note so I remember to link it up. So here's our drill. I really like this. We're going to go this way. Yeah, this is the drill. We're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. Got it? Good. So we're combining a bunch of things that we know, and it's going to allow us, and later on we talk about the rotations and stuff, we're going to layer that in. But basically, this is a hitch, right? So I'm sending this back, hitch, ball change. That's like the follower going forward, right? And if I count this, we have 1 and 2. Then I have to be quick with this foot, and so I can do it to the left side. 3 and 4, and. So it is constant. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if we do this again slowly, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. And how's that working out? Is anyone actually doing this while they're watching? I suppose you have a tough time doing it and typing it in. Maybe we'll have to go to Zoom at some point so we can interact and yell into the camera. But this is a great drill because you have to syncopate. It's covering both feet, going both directions, applicable for leaders and followers, and you can create all sorts of good stuff because you've trained your body to do it. So this is hitch, ball, step, and hitch, ball, step, and hitch, ball, step, and hitch, ball, step. Cool? So if you look at this, right, as I'm going hitch, ball, step, and if I step this and going forward, I have to swivel my feet, tracking my feet. So if I need to step back, my foot's right there, but I'm going to do it again. Hitch, ball, step, and hitch, ball, step. So you can see that there's a swivel of my feet as well, and later on we can create our body angles and such. Do you have anything to add on your hitch, ball, steps there, Miss Emily?
The other, I mean, this is going to apply for both, but again, the levels that you can do later on. When you are comfortable with these syncopations and the hitches, there's tons of stuff that you can do, and it's really, really prevalent right now in all of, well, at least the beginning of the 2020 videos and end of 2019.
Levels, good you are.
Yes, Yoda, thank you.
Yeah, so you got it.
So from here, as you get comfortable with this, with this exercise, you can go up, you can go down. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that you can do, but levels and changing that, not necessarily changing your footwork, changing the level makes everything look different and a little bit more intriguing if you're watching.
For sure, and again, this, when we put together the quick outline of this, there's a million different directions.
Tons.
And I get accused, Ms. Megan said to me this morning, you don't leave enough time for things. But in the interest of how much attention span we have, we're trying to be somewhat brief. But for sure, we can change levels to create things. We can change widths to create things. We can change angles to create things. We can do legato versus staccato. So for instance, if we go back to this, I can do this very smooth. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 2. 1 and 2, right? I can be very staccato if I want to create a whole different look. So again, just approaching it from a light and shade perspective, a smooth and sharp or legato and staccato perspective will also change the looks. It's appropriate for the music. It's appropriate for different partners. Yeah. Ben's even shaking his head.
He's with us.
Boom.
That's good.
Shall we go into, I'm going to go this way.
Okay.
So if we apply this, if we were to take one pattern, right, the sugar push, where we could really apply a bunch of different things and come up with an organized way to do it all, right? We would have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. Let's do that again. Then we'll teach leaders and followers footwork, and then we'll approach it together. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. Cool. Let's do leaders footwork. Can I go leaders backwards?
Sure.
I'll do brief leaders. So leaders, we walk back 1, 2. And again, we could make this fancier 1, 2, but we're just going to walk back 1, 2. 1, 2. Then we're going to create an angle for 3. We're going to go ball change and 4 and 4. Let's just do that one more time. So we have a 1, 2, a 3, and 4, right? Then I'm going to sweep 5, and then I'm going to go ball change and 6, and I'm back to a very traditional position for my anchor. So let's do that one more time, leaders. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4, sweep 5 and 6. Cool beans. I'll let Emily narrate the followers' footwork.
All right, followers, we are taking our 2 steps forward. So again, we can make that as stylized as we'd like, but for now, let's just go straight forward. We have 1, 2, we swivel, and 3, and 4. Is that right?
Yep, I'm just getting out of your way because
right on.
you're going to swivel into me.
So we have 1, 2, and 3, 4, step back, 5, 6. So where Brian was doing a triple, I am only doing 2 steps. So we do that again. We have walk, walk, swivel, and step. Then we step back on the right foot, sweep, and we settle back for that anchor.
Can we count that?
Sure. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6.
Bingo. So if we were to do this in a partnership scenario, we're not even talking about leading and following. So for this, let me do mine first, right?
Sure.
So if my partner was just dancing a regular sugar push, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, right? I could still, as long as this stays great, and this is a good thing to cover for all of our styling, the great thing about West Coast Swing is I have a ton of freedom provided I leave this still for my partner, right? There's definitely things that I can do with it to encourage, so these things can definitely be encouraged, and when you watch the high levels, you are seeing an action-reaction, an actual lead-follow at a really high level, but we'll stay off that topic for just a second. But leaders, again, we have 1, 2, I swivel 3, and if I want to do this with my partner and she's not doing it, I go and 4, right? I leave this there, and I sweep 5, and then I have to go and 6, right? So provided I leave this in the slot from my partner, I am able to do this all by myself and leave my partner alone. Conversely, if I'm just doing this myself as the leader and Miss Emily decides to do it on her own,
It's a little bit harder.
bingo. Makes sense. Any questions so far? Ben is bored. You got to ask some questions because that way Ben feels like he earns his keep back there.
Right.
Although we are live and you can see us and you can hear us, which is a no short feat from the beginning of lockdown where our live videos were not so good. First 3 days, terrible. Then they got good.
They got
then they
way
got
better.
Then they got better.
Then we had the voice of God.
Cool. Let's quickly recap everything we know in terms of the footwork stuff, and then we will come back and do the body isolations, and these things will start to tie together. But again, I'll go back to my happy side. On all of this stuff, don't space on rolling through my feet. Boom, practice this, just track yourself back, and then we can do the same thing tracking forward, whether I roll in through my heels or through my toe, either way. Do we have a question? I see Ben moving. Okay, good. Then second thing, you can talk about tracking the feet a little bit.
Sure. So as we go forward, make sure when we do our swivels or our new angles that, again, we keep the foot pressure. We stay forward into the feet if we're going forward. So we have a little bit of, just more of a forward presence. So no weight in the heels, so we are able to move that as much as possible, never leaving the ground.
Cool. Then we did our, if we really kind of play with our heels and toes as leaders, you can also do this as followers, but leaders, we really want to roll off that right heel. So as we're anchoring through and we roll this right foot into the heel, as we get to the heel, we're going to peel up the toe, right? So this is 5 and 6, and I roll through and peel it up. As I track my foot, I land on the ball of the foot. Then I pull myself underneath, switching to my left heel, boom. So if I do that in real time, from the 5 and 6, 5 and 6, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, 5, one more time, and a 1, and a 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. And the followers have
we have our heel clicks. So if we went forward, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6. If we went lower, we have 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6.
And you might hear us count the ands, and so there's a term called rolling count in West Coast Swing. That's a whole other discussion, but the idea that there is time in between the beats, right? So if I'm counting and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and a 8, and then I can go 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4. But that's basically breaking apart the amount of time, right? So I don't just have 1, right? I have and a 1. This is the beginning of 1, right? On the rest of the 1E and a. So as a good rule, I will cover rolling count for just a second. As a good rule, if I'm walking forward, right, the and would be the foot traveling underneath my body. The would be the foot out in front of my body. The weight change would be the number 1, right, and 2 and So that's a good way if I track back, right? I would go and so my body would be available to move on the 1, right? Then I'd have and 2, and a 3. So if I'm aware of that time, which is why I start with rolling through the feet, if I'm aware of that time, I'm aware of the time I have for and a 1, and a 2, and then I have my incremental weight transfer. That might sound boring, but that's really what goes on.
Well, and that's really what kind of puts the champion dancers in that realm, because they are able to understand exactly what their feet are doing, how much time they have, and moving with the music is just on a whole nother level.
Yes, 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 yes. And I don't think at this stage many of them, like some of this stuff has to be, what's your thing, consciously competent?
Unconsciously incompetent, unconsciously competent, consciously.
I can't repeat all that.
Yeah.
But basically, at some point you have to be conscious of these concepts, right?
Yes.
Till I'm thinking about them. The best analogy I use is when we start West Coast Swing, we're counting 1, 2, 3, and 4. And at some point, it goes away, right? We just start to feel it. That counting goes away. And then someone says, well, there's this musicality thing. You need to count differently. And now you have to actually count straight 8s. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8. Oh, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And I have to be very conscious of that until all of a sudden that goes away and I just feel it. Same thing with this stuff, right? I have to master these things until the incremental weight transfer and the tracking of the feet, that's just automatic, and you would never take a weird step that doesn't track underneath. And then it becomes very easy to pick up a piece of styling and have it look good out of the gate, rather than having your friends make fun of you. They did. They're like, you should never do that again.
So you work at it.
When I did my first body roll, like, they were like, you should never do that again. But I learned it.
And then he did tons more.
And then I did tons more, and I made a living off
Just to show them.
body rolling and spandex all around the world.
And
Cool.
rhinestones.
Then our final drill, of course, was our syncopation, our hitch step, right? So I have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Make sense? So practice that, and then we can put this into our sugar push variation drill. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. One more time. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. Yes, and if you can see what both of us are doing, we didn't actually explain earlier, but in preparation, right, in preparation for this next step, I'm going to actually create a little bit of a swivel so that I can have a clean attack to my hitch step, right? So even here, I'm not going boom, step back, and if I do, I have to turn myself, right? So I'm probably going to take this foot, and you can discuss this from the follower standpoint. I'm going to already have created an angle. Emily creates an opposite angle to make a cool look. Can you talk about that opposite angle?
Yeah, so I'm basically following the leader. As long as he opens up that side and creates the angle, I'm going to try and match it. So from here, 1, 2, if he opens this side, it allows me to follow this direction. Then it's easier to swivel and continue for our cool little sugar push.
Yes, but it's opposite, right? Because as the leader, I'm stepping back, and I'm already set up facing the foot that I'm going to go to. Emily's facing the opposite direction, so she has a little 3 and 4, 5 and 6. So in her brain, when she's counting this, she has to have another I'm going to go 1 and 2, and in my brain, I don't have to worry about this. Stay for me.
Yep.
I just have 3 and 4, right? But she has 3 and 4. Does that make sense? So as the followers are going through this, you have another like little and count that you have to count in your brain.
That's what makes it even cooler.
Whew, and harder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Cool beans? That is our footwork. Did we leave anything out of our footwork section?
I don't think so.
Cool. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to have a sip of water, and we're going to start on our isolations point. And this is a good time to ask a question or jump off the computer and say hello. Can you talk to our peeps?
Sure. So, isolations. We are going to start by doing a bit with the chest and upper body, since that's mainly what we're going to work with, and that's usually what is going to be isolated the most. We will do a little bit of body rolls. We are going to do a little hip action for the ladies as well.
Followers.
Followers, excuse me.
I led JT
Followers.
yesterday.
Did you?
I did.
You led
A
JT?
couple days ago. Get
Oh,
ready
I
for
was
videos.
like-
We had a new pattern. I want to make sure I could lead, so I led a boy. Make sure that he's not a professional
I was gonna
follower.
say he's not the best follower, but he does the trick.
If I can lead him,
That's true.
I led the pattern with Paige too.
Well, then
Miss
there
Megan
you
didn't
go.
like my lead, but I could lead it with 2 people, so I'm.
Was it the
it's
one that went
invented.
behind the back?
This one.
Oh, JT showed me that one.
This one.
It's really
Or is
cool.
this is cool. Oh yeah. See, I'm 3 for 3. Cool.
I like that one. Coming to you soon, I think.
So, any questions? How many people are hanging out with us right now?
7.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Hey.
So, body isolations. Here's what's going to go down this section. We are going to work through a couple of isolations because we need to have these isolations available to us to then apply them to the pattern, right? Footwork section and the isolation section are primarily dealing with the first 2 and the second 2 beats of the pattern, right? That's the most application for my footwork, right? So, what can we do in these sections? You know, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and what can we do with our feet? That was last section, right? Then we're going to talk about like what we can do with our bodies in those sections. And then the third section is the anchor steps, so the last 2 beats of the pattern, and we will apply kind of all that we've learned into some anchor step variations and concepts. So that's where we're working through this. And there is a segue between the isolation part where there's like a little actual body roll that works really well on the anchor, a subtle one.
Subtle.
Not
but
this
it's
one. I'm gonna
there
do the follower one. Not the.
all the way through.
But we will cover that in the correct way. Do you want to jump off since you're younger and more? You don't have a bad back.
Sure. Do you want to do it facing this way?
Let's do it.
All right. So we are going to start with our shoulders and upper body area. So we are going to go to the right. You want to keep a little bit of a bend in your knees. So the straighter the leg, it might be a little bit hard to move. So go ahead and bend the knees a little bit. We are going to go to the right, then to the left, to the right, and to the left. And if you want to go into that leg a little bit more like Brian, you can do that too. If you really want to focus on the top part of the chest, see how much stretch you can get to each side. So right and left and right and left.
I'm getting older.
Right.
I need to cheat these days.
And left, right, and left. No, it's good too because then you're over that foot.
Got
So
it.
helps. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go forward and back. So from here, we're going to have a little bit of a chest pop forward, and we're going to bring is this concave? Concave.
Cat cow for you yoga people.
Cat cow for you yoga people.
Emily hates yoga.
I do. I have a shirt that says my yoga pants have never been to yoga. I love it. So we go forward, forward and back, forward and back. Good. Forward and back. I think I said good to you. Forward and back. Yeah. How many of you have done these exercises? We did this with Ben in some of the live classes. All right.
Ooh.
So, do you want to do the 4 corners?
No, you can do it.
Okay. So forward. We are going to start forward. We are going to hit each spot along the way. So we're going to go forward, to the right, back, and to the left.
Can I say something?
Of course.
This is really not 4 corners. It's 4 walls. Wall.
If I'm
wall.
thinking I'm making a diamond.
Got it. 4 walls. Anyways, there's an engineer that's like, that's a wall, buddy. Anyways, I forgot. Sorry.
All right. So we go forward with the chest. We go forward, to the right, back, to the left, and forward, to the right, back, left. One more time. Forward, side, back, and side. If you wanted to, you can go the other way too, just to even yourself out, because it helps. So we're going to do that. We're going to go forward, left, back, and right. Ready? We have forward, to the left, back, to the right, and forward, to the left, back, to the right. One more time. Forward, side, back, and side.
I can hear you laughing at me in your voice.
No,
I'm
I
just
would
kidding.
never
I'm
do
teasing.
that.
I'm teasing.
So, yeah. It's hard to do it both ways. So from here, that is more of your staccato movement. So the very sharp, abrupt hits are what we're going to talk about.
Oh, good. I like that. I like that.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
Thank you. And For all you music people out there, staccato versus legato, I think you learned that word today.
Hard versus soft. I knew that word. I'm smart. I got good scores on my SATs.
Totally. So now we are going to smooth it out. So we've already done the staccato or the sharp movements. We are going to try and hit all of those points, but we're going to go in a circle. So to the right first, we start forward.
Oh, it's forward.
We go
Oh, sorry.
all the way around and back to the beginning. Try it again. And out, around. One more time. Circle it up. Yeah. Now we have to go the other way.
I'm going to watch. I
You
have a
gonna
bad back. I have a bad back.
Okay, that's fine. So from here, we go forward, we go all the way around and back to the beginning. So if we see it this way, we go forward, all the way around and to the beginning point. Full circle, if you will.
It's very modern, by the way. In today's climate of West Coast swing, slower music, less swingy, you're seeing a lot of that type of global, larger movement taking up a lot more space with the, that's good. See, I can't do that. With the loss of the triple, so this, as we get into the anchor step, we'll probably apply to this into ways where you don't actually triple step, but you kind of use this space. What did you say as we were breaking down videos? Like, no one's tripling anymore, a lot of sweeps.
Oh my gosh, tons of sweeps. I'm watching so many people, and the leaders like to do this little hitch thing, and then they do the little sweeps. Hardly any triples.
Damn it. Gonna have to change the way we teach. I'm becoming the old guy teaching triple steps.
It's advanced male footwork.
Bingo. Advanced male
Triples
forward.
are still important. Keep that in mind.
That's the rule. You have to know the rule before you can break it.
It's true.
All right, so where are we going from here, Miss Emily?
We are going to shoulder rolls around the spine.
Oh, cool. I can do this because it protects my spine. So, as we're talking about like leaving this, so this is a coach once said to me as a Latin coach that this never moves in all styles of dancing. And I told him, I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, you haven't seen me move. I'm really good. Like, that certainly moves. And he's like, okay, do your like Latin figure eights, you know, with all this motion. He put his finger right here, and I did all of my Latin movement, and I was like, holy guacamole, he's right. This being still, stillness in this area with movement around my spine will make you look like $1,000,000, right? So one of the things that I think makes people look bad, if you want just a couple levels of this, right? One of my coaches once said, Brian, at your level, it's not about being good, it's about being less bad. And that was true, right? So meaning, if I could keep this still, I am less bad. So no matter what I'm doing, I keep this still, right? Then I look good. Now if I can cultivate the ability to move around my spine, so if I kept this still, and we kind of just did a rotation, right? Where I leave this here, and I'm going to roll my right shoulder back, my left shoulder is going to come forward. So I'm moving myself around my spine, right? And then I'm going to move myself around my spine this way. Probably feels best if I kind of pick a shoulder up as I do it, right? So again, if I'm thinking about this neutral position of my head and spine, right, and that they're attached, right? Doesn't mean I can't create some movements and some global movements, but this is attached. It's never coming off, right? Or I'm never taking my spine off of my head visually, right?
That's interesting. Yeah.
So I'm going to keep this here. So I want to, as I move around this, when I get to a finished position, let's say this is as far as I can go. So the idea is to, through this drill, figure out how far you can rotate. When you get there, I want you to find a position and maybe even look in the mirror and make sure nothing looks stupid, quite frankly, right? So as I roll, I'm going to do this so I can look at you at the same time. I'm going to do this, and whatever tension I create in that roll, when I finish it, I want the tension to be away. So I want the finished position of this to include no tension. Watch what happens if I include tension. I have all this tension, which I need to move my shoulder up and around, and I leave it there, right? And now all of a sudden, I probably look hunched.
A little
I can
bit.
look at myself in that camera. Yeah, I look terrible, right? But if I can learn to relax that, right, and use the internal muscles and find a relaxed position as I'm moving around my spine, that's going to be super, super helpful. Cool? So I can do that going forward, right? I can think of this, another way to think of it is to go back, I need to go forward, right? So I can think about going back in one side, but by default, I'm going forward in the other. I could think about sending this forward and this being the accent that you're looking at, but this is tracking back. I can bring your attention to it with the shoulder shrug, right? So that's my thing with isolations is, and I used to do this in big workshops, and what I would do is I would teach everyone this isolation, this one from the shoulder down, we go, and then you'd start on the right shoulder, right there,
right?
And you'd go all the way down into your legs, boom, whatever. Okay, so she wasn't in the class. So we'd roll, try from the right side.
Roll.
Yep, roll, and then I would roll, right? And we would put a whole line of people.
Oh, I
big room
see
of
what you
people,
wanted. Let's
right?
do it again.
Okay, ready? Like the wave, right? And so as we did this around the room, and a group of people that literally just learned it 30 minutes earlier, I would ask the class, I said, how'd that look? And they would go, ooh, right? Because the ripple goes all the way around, right? And then I said, did anyone watch one person long enough to figure out if they were any good? No. Like once your eye came off Emily, you didn't know if she looked funky, right? But the fact that this moved in order around the room was important. So if I can organize this and move this in order, and then, because you are going to be looking at me, find a relaxed position when I'm done, then I have an ability to move around my spine and still look good. So that was my favorite isolation, especially in my older years, because I also think with a bad back that sometimes these isolations, getting these, the amount of angle that Emily will is difficult. And so my cheat as I've gotten older is I can still protect my spine and use my shoulder blades to create a lot of this. And this is what I last did when I competed, is I faked everyone in my cha-cha. And I couldn't move my midsection quite the same way, but I used my back.
His cha-cha was still very good. But one of the things if you do these exercises, because I know we went through, Ben started this, you may not have a lot of movement when you start these exercises, but the more you do them and the more comfortable you get with them, you will unlock quite a bit of movement. So even if you don't move very much right now, as long as you keep at it and keep going and stretching, you will get more movement.
Yep, and that's the idea. You want to be able to access the amount that's in your body, right? So you need to find out how far can I go that's comfortable, that I still can maintain that look without too much tension, right? And then once you find that, you can access it comfortably for yourself and you'll look good. And that's why you can't look exactly like XYZ person. And it's also a good idea of why you should probably emulate someone who is built similarly to you. If you're tall, emulating a tall follower might be a good idea. If you're a tall leader, emulating a tall leader. If you're a bigger guy, emulating a bigger guy like John Lindo, Kyle Red. Well, two guys that take different approach, right? Kyle Red is a very footwork oriented. Like that's a great place. Yeah, right. He's not a humongous body isolation type guy, but Lindo, right? Less with the footwork, and Lindo is more about his shoulders and body rhythms, right?
He's lost quite a bit of weight.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
he's awesome.
But there's an example of if you are built like John Lindo and you try to move like Benji Schwimmer, not a good idea. Not a good idea. If you're built like Benji Schwimmer and you can take your leg above your head, you should try to emulate his stuff. If your leg only goes this high, you should probably emulate me.
Yeah. Sure.
It used to go that high, but it just.
Wasn't there was a picture that your leg was higher than your partner's? Yeah.
There was a point. There's a point I could high. There's a point I could take you in a high kick contest.
Oh no, sir.
I could at least compete. I could be on your level. So can we apply this? So again, we're going to practice this, but now I want to be able to access it in two different ways, right? A more sharp way or a smooth way. So if I use we'll go in reverse. I'll do my shoulder rolls and you can do your isolations. So I can roll this and just be smooth, right? Where it never has an end to it. The beginning of the next movement is moving in to the end of the previous movement is the beginning of the next movement. There's no end, right?
It's a ripple effect.
So if I were to count this could be a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, right? That would be my legato, my smooth. But if I want it to be sharp, right? It's the same action, but this relaxation, I'm going to pop it into place and make that sharp. So I could have and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, right? And to get that kind of pop, right, I literally just have to do this slow so I feel which muscles are working, and then I have to have the ability to pop it into place. But I've already practiced this slow finding that position where there was no tension, so then I can just do it fast, right? So if I was dancing, I would have the ability to pop, pop, if I wanted to, or I could, why did Hey Layla just come into my brain right there?
It was one of the Music Monday songs.
There you go. Make sense? So can you discuss that from the side, forward, round, the legato,
Yes.
staccato, smooth?
So as far as your movements go, there may be some parts in specific movement or specific music that you do chest pops of sorts, but you're probably going to utilize the side-to-side motion a little bit more. So if we just did the side-to-side motion, we can also, if we head to the side and we do this, the slow or legato version, there's a little bit of a roll side to side. So it's less going forward and back. You can go side to side. And that way you stay with the fluidity of the probably contemporary or lyrical song, maybe a blues song, something like that. If it is a faster beat and you want to kind of hit the music or make an accent of sorts, you can hold it there and have that be your stopping point. So we hold to the side, hold to the side, hold to the side, and hold.
Can you do that? I'm going to count.
Sure.
Ready? Ready, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. And she's holding and moving 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. So on the and or the middle of the beat, there's nothing going on. And that stillness creates a moment, right? Stillness, that's the brilliance of dancing. It's not the movement, it's the stillness after the movement. Think about the cool move. Wah, 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 pa. Ah. It's that breath, that stillness. Cool? So if we did this slowly, we'd have 1, and a 2, and a 3, a 4, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. Now, can you do the staccato version?
Sure.
Ready, and 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 5, and a 6, and a. So same isolations, how we approach them, right? So on one side you have as sharp as you can make it, on one side you have as smooth as you can make it, and somewhere in between is probably the one you'll end up doing.
Maybe.
That makes sense? So you have to choose, like we talked about, what's your favorite color? I like to ask that because people say, well, what's the correct way to do this, Brian? I go, there's a bunch of correct ways. And they go, that's not true. There's got to be one correct way. I go, what's the best color? Now, you might have a favorite color, right, that works for you, that you like, that work. Oh, you have pink shoes on.
I know.
Right? I do have my red shoes on.
I know.
But that doesn't mean it's the best color, although people do ask about the shoes, and I have these in every color.
Red, blue, tan.
Red, blue, tan. No black.
Sorry.
Boom. Cool. So where else do we have to go with this Miss Emily?
I think we have to put it in
Oh,
some patterns.
let's put this in patterns. Yes. So we can move which directions? Forward, back, left, right. So if we want to do these shoulder pops, right? I am going to be, in essence, let me go forward and back, and you can go forward, I'll go back, right?
Sure.
So as a leader, if I want to access this and this, right? It would be a little weird to do this if I was moving back. But if I move to the corner of the room but sideways, right, I can access this action by going 1, right, and a 2. So as I move back, in essence, if I just took my feet, I'm using the tracking my foot and stepping sideways, the tracking of my feet stepping sideways. Tracking, step sideways, tracking off the camera. Get the idea, right? That's where my feet are going. That's boring, but we've already practiced that. So now I'm going to track my feet and push off the right foot and create this angle. Then I'm going to track my feet and push and track my feet and push and track my feet. Get it? Okay, Miss Emily's going to go forward. Same concept.
Yes. So using that staccato movement, we are going to, your shoulder in a way is kind of leading. So we're going forward to the right and forward to the left. Still tracking the feet, forward to the right and forward to the left. So there's a little bit of a jagged look to it, which kind of adds to the coolness of it as well. So if we step forward, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're kind of hitting that, the downbeat or the 1, 2, 3, 4. No triples if we just did the walks for each of those counts.
And here's a good rule as you go through this. And again, a lot of this that I learned, in fact, most of the dance knowledge that I have that's applied to West Coast swing actually came from other forms of dance. So I learned this concept in waltz. There's all of these movements and athleticisms and shapes that need to happen in waltz, right? So again, it's very easy when you have these crazy shapes to carry them into the next movement. You have this weird tension, and it's real easy to look bad by trying to access those ranges of movement. So when I take my body that's organized, right, I have good posture and everything, and I start to take it out of balance with these things, I have to be careful not to move in that disorganized position. So here's your checkpoint. And this is true for every dance form that I do, and I do ballroom and country and swing and everything.
Any partner dance.
Any partner dancing, right? Is when I'm passing my feet underneath, everything's organized. Doesn't mean I can't be down on my knees, but everything's organized, right? So everything's organized. I take it into this beautiful disorganization, but then I need to resolve it, right, before I move into the next position. So as you're moving through this, your checkpoint is as your foot passes underneath your body. If this was cha-cha, right, I have all of this and I have this hip. As I come underneath, everything's organized, passing right underneath. If I'm dancing West Coast swing and I get ready for a step, let's say I'm using my footwork, everything's organized, then I have all this, but then I come back to an organized position before I move to the next one. So no matter which one you're moving through, any of these syncopations, right, like if we did this one again, when you went to this angle, right, she's gonna pass through, actually swivel that foot for me, just kind of, yeah, swivel underneath past the right. Oh. Boom, that's an option, right? As I come through here, I can pass right underneath, creates a cool, yeah, look how cool that looks.
So cool.
Dun, 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 right? So that's your checkpoint as you're going through this, is make sure that you don't just move from one position to the other. I have to pass through this. And you even counted it when we were practicing, like 1 and 2 and, can you do that for me?
Sure. So from here we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. One thing, when you are doing any of these isolations, make sure that you finish one thought, and this kind of goes along with what the neutral part that you're going to pass through. You have to finish one thought before you go into the other one.
Oof, that's
so
heady.
I always think of it as sentences. You don't want to run on sentence, you want to finish it. So you have that, like, let's say you do this and you have the drop of the arm. That's going to be your period. You're done with that. Next sentence, here we go.
I like it. I get nothing.
Okay.
What's the next thought?
That was a lot.
That was good stuff. Any questions? You're live. The advantage of this live is you get to interact, and it's helpful to us, and it makes me feel better for having Ben sit back there. Although we had bad luck sometimes when Ben would just get the camera up and ready and then take off, that's when things would go wrong. But because you're sitting here, nothing's going to go wrong.
We should do these in patterns.
Yeah. So which one would you like to attack first, Ms. Emily?
Let's do the legato one first.
Okay.
So from here, let's just say we're doing a sugar push, yeah? 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. Again, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. What did you choose to isolate?
I chose my ribs sideways.
So when you're trying this with a person, or just on your own, whatever, make sure that you choose one thing to focus on first. Choose before you try to do it. It helps. And then try that. Then from there, you can do another part of the body. And once you're comfortable with each of those, you can put them all together.
I like that thought, right? Because if we were to do this without thinking about foot tracking, right, you'd get this. You'd get pop, pop, and you look a little bit like a football player.
A little bit. Sumo wrestler.
Yeah. So again, in my order, the reason why we structure it this way, and I start with tracking of the feet and rolling through the feet, is everything works from the ground up, right? I have to strike the cymbal before I get the rest of the noise. So I have to organize my feet wherever I'm going, right? I'm organizing my foot to a side step. Now, what I do with that side step, if I want to isolate sharp, that's my own choice. Boom, right? But I have to organize my feet first. So to Emily's point, I'll even be more direct. Make sure you get the angles of the feet first. That alone, with nothing else but the angles of my feet, create a nice, less boring, more interesting look. Then if I start to layer on my isolations of my rib cage, or maybe even,
Your head whip.
oh,
I whip my head back and forth.
this is, which we'll get to.
Yes.
You're gonna get to.
But one of the things, working from the ground up is super important in whatever dance form you're doing, because once you have the foundation of the feet and the base, then the rest kind of,
You've taken out a lot of the looking bad, which is the
Yes.
first step to looking good. I know from experience. At your level, Brian, it's not about being good, it's about being less bad.
So now let's do staccato.
Let's do it.
1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. 1, 2, 3
I got all
and 4,
confused.
5 and 6. 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6.
Bingo.
Opening up the angles makes
Yep.
everything
And so
better.
as you go through this too, and one of the ways that that you could drill this is look, there's only 3 basic patterns we're dealing with: pushes, passes, and whips, right? It's kind of useless to try to figure out styling within all the rest of the patterns, because as a leader, at least you know a few beats before theoretically what's going to happen. So it's a little easier to plan out from that standpoint. But if I'm sitting from the follower side, especially if you're a Jack and Jill dancer, you have to know how to style your pushes, passes, and whips. At the very least, your walk is going to be relatively the same no matter what the pattern is. So you have whatever options you have available on the 1-2, and they're available to you most of the time. So spend most of your time in those areas. We do have a question. I love it.
As the leader, whenever you're varying your sides, sometimes
Yep.
it puts you in different places in relation to a ball on the 6. How do you decide where to put your right foot on your 6 to be able to pick your side and move on your 1?
Oh, good, because let me see if I can repeat that question for you guys. So, if you say it one more time, Ben?
Basically, how do you figure out where to place your 6 as the leader to be able to move and create an angle on the 1?
Yeah, so that's a good point, because that was actually the next point of my thought. How do I decide to place my foot in the previous pattern to access what I want to do? And I was kind of getting to that, so thank you for making sure I didn't lose that thought. Because I know kind of what's happening next, right? I've led a pattern, blah, blah, blah. At the finish of the pattern, I know that I'm just going to dance a sugar push and I want to access this, right? So I have to start to think ahead and use the 6 and right? We talked about it here when I want 5 and 6. I'm thinking at the beginning of this 6, what is coming next, right? 5 and 6. I'm using this to decide what is coming next. So anytime you're moving to a foot, it's the previous beat that is creating that movement. So this is a good time if you have something that looks bad or there's a mistake in a move or something, don't look at the mistake, look right before it. So how do I decide? Number one, I have to have that skill, right? So I might have to, as a leader, do this. Go, okay, I want to practice swiveling my footwork, right? 3 and 4. So as I'm practicing these sugar pushes, 5 and 6, I need to start to master this moment of rolling my weight to access my swivel. If I'm thinking about moving back at this angle, I need to start to think about the tracking of my foot. So here's my basic sugar push, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I know that I want to slide back this way with my isolation. So I might use my anchor to go 5 and 6, right? I'm still partnering my partner, right? But I've created this angle for myself to move back, right? So I have to know ahead of time, and that's why I say if you can master some footwork variations, just use a sugar push over and over and over, right? Until you can master this position to access this, right? You can master this position to access this. Do it over and over and over, and then you can just have a partner with you, right? And you can have those movements available to you. And the reverse, I'll let you talk on that subject, if anyone else has another question.
What do you mean?
So if you are, because it's different for you, right? Because at least I know right here that I'm just going to dance a sugar push and I've let myself be in this position.
Yeah.
Like, how do you start to decide where and when and why and how you can set yourself up for a styling option?
So a couple of different things come into play. Music makes a huge that's a huge influence on what I choose to do.
Another whole hour topic or
That's
two.
a whole nother thing. But the other thing is watching your body. So because I'm a follower, I have to react to whatever you're doing. Once you preempt that, if you actually do that on 6 and you're ready to go, from there I can see, okay, he's creating an angle, so he will probably do some sort of stylized walk. What can I do in that region that would either match or at least stylize my walk as well? And that's where you can go into either the Apple Jacks, the Dorothy heel clicks, any of the smooth tracking swivels, any of that. But really it's watching your body.
Yeah, so I think, again, you have to have it, and this is what I tried to teach my Jack and Jill dancers, and sometimes it doesn't get in their head as quickly as I'd like, but you need to master a handful of styling options, right? And if you watch the best of the best dancers, if you watch them in a 3-month period, go pick your best dancer, pick June, July, August 2019. Watch clips from them, June, July, August 2019, your favorite dancer. Watch 10 of them in a row. You're going to see the same moves cropping up. They have the same thing that we do. They get stuck in the same patterns that they're really good at, and they master them. Now, over the year and years, sometimes those patterns change. In the case of the great Robert Royston, they don't, and he still whoops everybody with the same patterns that he's been whooping everyone with. So the point is to have a small group of things that you master, right? And then from Emily's standpoint, you know that you have an ability to move this way, right? And so you're starting to already see the angle set by the leader. So, oh, magically this happens in a Jack and Jill with high-level dancers. And you go, oh, it's just because they dance with each other a lot. That might be the first time they've ever been matched up. But each of them has the skill set within their body. And then all they have left to pay attention to is the little movements between the two of them.
Yeah, and most of the time they know their music pretty well too, so that helps.
Yep, and that's why I think, if we think positively about an opportunity like this to focus on ourselves, because we are going to get back to mass social dancing at some point, for sure.
We will.
But at the moment, we have an ability, a forced ability, to level up our games by ourselves, right, and develop these skill sets within ourselves. And I guarantee when you dance with a partner, it's going to be better. Like, this mastery of connection from me comes so much through my own body connected to the floor, and then just my ability to move around this and isolate myself. That's the smaller skill set. I think this is the bigger skill set that we're kind of talking about in this. Cool? Any other questions? So we had some leg stuff, some hip stuff that Miss Emily wanted to cover, and the head. So we're kind of working up the body. Oh no, I lied with leg stuff.
Yeah.
Hip stuff.
Well,
Hips
yeah,
don't
the
lie.
hips was, leaders, you can do it too if you want. It's up to you. But if you're going...
Can we do a little hip isolation stuff?
Yeah.
Because this one I can do.
Sure.
Yeah. So again, if we look at some isolations that would happen, like Miss Emily talked about, isolating this forward, right, back, and left, I can reverse that, keeping this still, and just work my hips underneath me, right? My ability of my hips to move over a foot, left and right. So again, if I'm thinking about transferring my weight to my right foot, I can think about transferring my upper body first and letting the lower body swing on top of it. Upper body first and lower body on top of it. I could also think about the lower body transferring first, right, and letting the ripple work itself up, right? So there's two different theories in movement, and depending upon who your teacher is or how much training they have, they might sit in one camp or another. One theory is what's called a hanging skeleton, which is if I took a shirt or a skeleton, right, that hangs from your high school science class, and I pulled the top of it, right, eventually the feet would catch up, right? So that would be the top moving first and the base catching up, which would be kind of Emily's isolation through the upper body, right, where my upper body moves first and the lower body catches up, right? The other theory of movement is that it's driven underneath, that my base moves forward and that my upper body kind of catches up with it. Now, which is true? Both. Both, just depends on how you want to talk about the initiation movement. But I think it's good to understand both. So from the hip perspective, and Emily will get into this when she does her hip walks, but the hip moves first, right? And then my body can isolate on top of it. My hip moves, and then my body can isolate on top of it. So you can think about a wider base and a smaller top versus a wider top and a smaller base, right? But then I can practice what I call figure eights. We'll go sideways. So anyone who's had Latin dancing will understand this. But I can take my hip weight forward, I can roll it around the corner. So I'm accessing this whole movement through this amount of space. And you think about filling out this space of your hip. After I've done this, the weight's going to move diagonally from this side of me into my front left hip. So we call this a figure 8. Now I'm going to fill out this space to this corner and fill out this space. So you can see I'm drawing an 8 with my hips. And this is either super foreign for you or not, right? So that's one thing I could access. So that lets me really work myself around a foot, like say when I'm anchor stepping. Anchor step, I might move out to the side and I might create this kind of hip action into the next step. Cool? So I need to be able to master what we call figure 8s. So I fill out the front half of the hip, turn the corner to the left side. Do you have anything to add to this, Miss Emily?
Well, it's what we're going to do when we go forward. So this is perfect for
Bingo.
everyone.
And then we can have one more. Again, this depends on the styling and the song, but you see this quite a bit. You talked about the sweepy taking up space. I can take my hip weight, and this is more samba. Again, this all comes from different dance forms, right? I can take my hips, go forward to the left, and swing them around me. This actually tends to be easier for people, right? So I'm creating a big circle with my hips, right? And then I can reverse the direction, going to the forward and left side, and all the way around. I don't know if this feels good or bad for my back.
Feels great.
Right? But you can see that this creates a lot of actions.
Yes. All of it.
Bingo. So if we take that hip act, oh, we got a question.
Whenever you do your figure 8s, do you let your hip weight go outside your foot?
Good question. Do I let my hip weight go outside my foot when I'm doing my figure 8s? What's your favorite color? Yes and no. So I think what the question is if you watch from behind, right? If I took this, you could say that this, I could make this circle, and you could say it's very underneath. I'm very stacked up, right? My foot, my leg, my hip, my rib, my head, and it's a very subtle movement underneath. But even on that foot, I could let my rib cage go to one side, and I can create a much bigger action with my hip. And so by definition, you could say my hip weight is now outside of my foot, right? If I dropped a plumb line down, it would fall outside of my foot versus this, where it would fall relatively over my foot. So depending upon the song and what I'm trying to accent, I think you get this from girls a lot. You'll get hip weight definitely not over my feet, but it's also, this is why the isolations are important. You can't just do that by taking your hip there, right? I have to take my hip one direction and my rib cage the other direction, right? And as I do that, I start to create something that I can place a foot, and then I can reverse the process, right? I'm working my rib cage one way and my hip weight the other. So there is not a right or wrong. You might have a teacher that says, don't take your hip beyond your foot. They're probably saying, don't fall over.
Yeah.
Right? And so maybe the ability to do that for you is not cultivated enough. Doesn't mean that doing it's wrong. It might be their version of saying, don't look back. Look less bad now until you develop that skill. And don't be afraid of looking stupid. I for sure looked stupid doing a lot of stuff, for sure. And even to this day, I've always been a very safe dancer. I don't like to look stupid, so I don't take chances. So yeah, just have your friends watch you. They'll tell you. Don't do that, Miss Emily.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. And that's also
Let me know if that answered the question.
when you do this position like you did, isn't that what you found a lot of people do, your one-footed spins?
Yeah, so here's it. This is off topic, right? But when we talk about one-footed spins, right, and I do a lot of breakdown on video, maybe as much as anyone. So, one of the things we teach as teachers is to organize your weight and keep everything balanced, right? Because people tend to be out of balance. So I have to organize my weight and keep everything balanced. But what I found by breaking down like dozens and dozens of dancers that spun on one foot, all of them different body types, different situations. Sometimes it was in routine, sometimes it was in social dancing. One of the things that we found was that there's an outside of turn, there's always an outside of turn. And the outside of turn for the followers came through their hip weight. So as they set the turn up, as they began the deep part of the turn, the hip weight actually sat out. So you'd end up seeing them with this kind of position. So this became the outside of turn. If you can see, it widens my base and lowers me. So it's an isolation that, to be honest, I bet you none of them would teach, but all of them are doing.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's an isolation or athleticism that's just been, it was built in their body and they just started doing it. And they were good at one-footed spins. And then all of us teachers were saying, hey, organize yourself, but they were actually using that hip weight.
See, so it does apply.
It does apply.
It's an isolation.
That global movement, yeah. That's why some of the best dancers are just good athletes, right? They came in, they were gymnasts. Miss Megan was a skater. You grew up doing ballet. Ben was a band nerd. So
band
he used
guy.
his,
Talking about good dancers.
he used his brain.
Oh, stop.
He used his brain to intellectually get this stuff.
That's true.
So we have
Yes. So talking about the figure 8, that's exactly what you're going to be doing with your hip as you step forward. So I am still going on a slight angle, but I am rolling my hip around as I step forward. Roll and roll and roll. So you can absolutely isolate the hip into your walks if you so choose. So if we did that again, we have roll and roll and roll and roll. But again, talking about the feet and what we've already discussed in the fancy footwork section, I'm still using that swivel to come to a kind of a neutral position to then roll into that next step.
and again, it kind of makes me think like there's being a Jack and Jill and having them do something like this, right? And if I were to take the previous isolation, right, that's just I'm leading a walk, walk. I'm basically leading a walk, 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 right? But if I did this, I could do this and make it very over the top. I'm gonna take you over the top, right? If I take this very over the top, and it becomes very cool and dynamic. However, if I stylistically wanted to make this more intimate and I pulled myself away, I'm moving away from my partner. But if I move the base or my hip weight further away, right, this ends up having a little bit more of an intimate feel because my body can stay towards my partner. That was a triple step on the wrong foot. Bad lead.
Just make it work.
Bad lead.
Anchor step.
This is a little bit all over the place, but I like it.
It all is coming back around.
I like it, I like it, I like it. But this is really some of the things that happen. It's relatively simple if you think about it, right? We see a big pattern, and I think people want to learn, they want to learn this styling variation, right? But for me as a teacher, there's like 4 skills within that make it look good, maybe even 5, right? I have to understand tracking my feet. I have to understand like a hitch and a syncopation. I have to understand how to sweep and move the standing foot and use the sweep to get me back to the correct foot, right? To make it look cool, I have to use some body isolations, right? My hip moving back and my knees moving back that start to create a cool look. Then I might need to start, again, my base is bigger, so I can use this as a sweep up and over. So I'm starting to layer on my base moving bigger, I'm layering on a sweep, I'm layering on coming back to a neutral position. Holy guacamole, but it's all here. It's all here.
Yeah. Any questions? The other one that we talked about, or the up, did we do up and down? Up,
Oh,
up.
no, we didn't. Yeah. So again, very simple one, right? Not even taking this, but again, I'm dancing my walk, walk. And I'm gonna actually do this backwards. You can walk forward, right?
Okay.
I'm dancing my walk, walk. And I've got 2 different options rolling around my spine, right? I can do same side, 1, 2, right? So I'm just literally popping my shoulders, 1, 2. So as I'm walking back, 1, 2. Cool, let's do that again. So we're doing same side, 1, 2. That's an option. Let's do that one more time. 1, 2. You want to talk about it from the follower standpoint?
Sure. So from here, as we take that step forward, we have and 1 and 2. So there's the and action is happening for this one as well. So 1, 2. Try that again. We'll do 4 steps. I just have a curtain, so I'll take the small steps. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And
I have to snap while doing it.
Yeah.
I've done good. I haven't snapped a lot, have I? I don't think so.
No, you haven't, actually. So from here, if I'm going to do that with my shoulders, I actually feel like when I go down, when I'm actually stepping with that foot, I have to kind of go down into my knees too. So it kind of ripples into the body. So it is an isolation in that it initiates the movement. We have 1, 2, but I also feel like the bounce just kind of naturally happens in my base as well.
Natural. Same dance teacher said, if anyone ever says that dancing's natural, ask for your money back. It's not natural.
It's because
It becomes a natural reaction of what we did.
natural reaction,
I
yes.
agree.
And as I'm rolling through the feet, it also gives me the ability from the toe to the heel. It mimics what my shoulders are doing. So if I go up, down, it's my toe to heel, toe to heel.
Bingo. Right? Because if I did that flat-footed.
Again. Right,
Oh, that's terrible.
right. That's what I'm saying.
They're like, I learned this from Emily.
That is not what I did. Not what
Yeah,
I
but
did.
that's, to Emily's point, the fact that this is organized, right? This action, it comes, remember I said before, it comes from the standing foot. So not only does the standing foot create it, 1, 2, right? But it works its way up into the shoulders to create a look in
I
the
like
dancing.
it.
Yeah, I was gonna say something else on that. Oh, if we did this slow-mo, right? Counting and 1 and 2. Can you do this slowly? The
I
walk,
don't know,
walk.
can I?
Yep, so and 1 and 2. So there's a lot of time in there. And 1, 2. Does that make sense? Within that, this is not on our list, so I throw a little bit of a loop, but there are two different global ways I can think about moving, and the truth really lies in between. I can think, and I teach this a lot, same side, right? So if I'm moving back on my left foot, it's the same side of your body, right? Onto my left foot, onto my right foot. If I'm moving forward, it's the same thing. I want to think about same side, same side. So that's a good, if I were to teach one way, I would rather you get your weight, your right foot, your right thigh, your right hip, and your right rib cage over top. No matter where you're moving, I want all of that organized. That's the first thing. The other side of that is that there is actually a contra action, meaning when I taught this as an inexperienced new teacher, I would have my students dance right side and left side. And they were overachievers, and they were like, look, Brian, right side and left side. And then I'm like, I need to adjust this. So what we did was, we would have them, back in the day, we had CD cases. Can I have that Cheez-Its box? Watch
Giving away
this.
our snacks.
Since we have digital music, if you hold something in front of you like this, right? And I'm going to keep this framed up, and I'm going to dance to my right side. And I'm going to let everything go on my right side. I'm going to actually go this way so you can see something. I'm going to go this way, right? If I go right side, right? That is definitely my right side forward. However, there's a contra feeling to it. Contra being the opposite rib cage feels like it's coming up alongside, right? So I can walk, not terrible. I can walk same side,
Sorry, Cheez-It.
right? Rolling around my body, that's one action. I can also think about moving in contra. So I'm moving my right side back with my left foot, and I can have a contra look. So I use the same roll action, but instead of rolling my left side with my left side, I might roll my right shoulder with my left side. It's just a different look.
I actually think this is more natural.
The contra?
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Yep. Ben says it's not natural. Here's why it is natural.
Natural.
wanna
Because when you walk.
You want to freak someone out? Walk like this. Oh, good. Keep going. Keep walking. Keep walking.
I'm walking.
Right? This would be freaky. Swinging the same side, your right arm with your right leg, but we actually walk in contra, right? So again, as I'm doing this, I got two different ways I can access this. I can think same side, which might be really good for these types of things. I can also think contra to create a cleaner look.
Yes,
Bingo.
I agree.
Sweet.
The other thing that I thought was I was just going to bounce up and down and walk like this.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Yeah.
Sweet. Any questions? I'm going to grab a sip of water as we come back for our anchor step silence. Styling. How's everyone doing? Someone type something in.
Where's everybody from?
Yeah, where's everyone from? That's a fun question.
Anybody? I think the sun has come out today.
I'm from Louisville, Kentucky.
You're
we had the-
technically from Boston.
I'm technically from Boston. And you're from?
Austin, Texas.
From Austin, Texas, fighting out of Louisville, Kentucky.
I almost said that.
UFC fights on tonight. I'm pretty excited about that. So anchor step styling, we're going to add this all in. Who has seen our 5 different ways to style your anchor step video? Who has seen that? Type it in. I'll give a special prize to someone who
There's also the 8 different variations that Megan and I did.
Oh, you can cover that, yeah. Do you remember them all?
Oh, I think so.
Actually,
One of them was a syncopation, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and
where's our,
6
there we go.
and 8.
Trish is on from Ohio.
Trish!
Trish, what's up, Trish?
Four
Trish
of
is a
them.
rock star. For those of you guys who don't know,
She is a rock star.
Trish is my student, and Trish once said, "Hey, I have a little problem, but I'm going to come for my lesson and see if we can do the comp next week." And Trish showed up with a recently broken and casted arm that she couldn't move her hand. And we went through the lesson, and she went to the competition, and I think you even won, and with a
One of
broken
the
arm.
divisions, I think. If
Bless
not
her
both.
heart, rock star.
Rock star.
Rock star. Okay, so anchor steps.
We're going to start with the basic first.
Basic.
Yeah.
What are the basics?
1 and 2. We're rolling through our feet. We're crushing
Hey,
grapes.
there you go. So let's go this way. Again, rolling. We can practice these triples, and there's a triple step video. Can you put this down? I want to do the rolling through the feet triple step video that I can add to this.
Trish.
Someone
She said she finally figured out how to respond.
respond by typing in.
Yeah.
Got
That's
it.
funny.
So basics, again, to improve our anchor step is that we're just going to roll through the feet, right? Roll, roll, roll. If this is 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, right? Because if I'm thinking of this as an anchor for the leader, right, it's the roll through this foot that's going to do a lot of good things. A lot of good things. Number 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? We've stopped each other. 5, and this roll through allows me to create stretch, which allows me to create good connection to my partner, which accesses things like the hitches and different things that we can do, right? So from a partnership scenario, that roll through the feet is going to be important.
Very important.
And I would recommend you take a really slow song, dance halftime to that song. So if I was doing it with the left foot, I would dance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can really feel the weight transfer ball to heel into your foot. And if you did it halftime, it's something I did for about 2 years of my dancing. Every single practice started with drills that were halftime to start. So I take a song, maybe even a fast song, but I do it halftime. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anything to add on rolling through your feet? Crushing the grapes.
Crushing the grapes. So, still something I want to do. But from here, if you think about that I Love Lucy commercial that maybe some of you have seen, it's really going from the toe to the heel. Have you seen it?
Nope. I don't watch TV.
What? That was back when you did watch TV. Anyway, so we have the 1 and 2, or for the follower, we have the left foot back, 3 and 4. So like Brian said, rolling from the toe to the heel will create the smoothness and the, again, understanding where your weight is so that you can do your hitches or any of the other modifications that you choose to do.
Bingo, and this really almost should have been put in the footwork section, but the fact that if I go 1 and, the weight feeling through the ball of my foot is what's going to later on allow me to change an angle for the next step. So I really have to think about not only the 1, but the and, because that's going to allow me to swivel my foot into a position to create some styling, right? So accessing those abilities through my footwork is going to be super important.
Yep.
So what are the main areas we can go on our anchor step before we get crazy?
Well, I think we talked about crossing.
Yeah, so let me do it from
Back.
this side so the anchor is available to everyone, right? So number 1, we need to create a stopping point to allow for the styling. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're just dealing with basics, right? So from here, we can take this and we can over-rotate it and go behind. Anchor and return back to neutral, right? So if I take this right foot, I can over-rotate this. And again, in an ideal situation, I'm going to let go of Miss Emily here, my feet are actually rotating to access that. So my standing foot is rotating triple step. Triple step.
I'm impressed. His balance
Ben
is
just does this.
incredible, ladies and
So,
gentlemen.
as we do that, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. And I'll even say this. Remember I said what the foot you're coming from is the important one. So if I dance 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And I need to rock back that way. I don't want to take this foot off and do it Brian B style, right? The pressure of this right foot changes my angle so I can step back, and then I rotate underneath myself and step underneath my stretch, and off I go. All right, so let me do that one more time. We'll go sugar push to count 4 and freeze. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do not lose the pressure of this right foot because I have to go 5 and 6. So it's back to the tracking that we talked about. So last time for leaders, I'll let you deal with followers. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 and 6 and 1. Cool, that's for the leaders. Over rotating backwards.
Yeah, so followers, we have a little bit further to go as far as this opening up with the left side goes. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. From here, again, we're going to talk about swiveling, but the swiveling kind of is initiated by the right foot to open up. You're still sweeping that left foot around, but the right foot changes that angle to step in.
And can you discuss that from a tracking standpoint and a sweeping standpoint?
Sure. So from here, if we'll get to 4 and stop. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. From here, if we were tracking in, we could bring it in and then step back. Typically, if I'm doing this personally, I like to sweep around. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, I sweep and come back.
Bingo, but that's, if you were to look at a dancer, Brandy comes to mind, who's a very technical, not an overly showy, but actually a person that's probably worth emulating for all of us, because she would probably choose to be very technical underneath with her feet and create a very technical, clear look, right? And that's a really good thing to shoot for. However, it doesn't look as cool as, say, the sweep.
Yeah, well, and it also depends on which pattern you're doing too. So some openings or different options for your anchors might not feel the best for the
Song
push,
speeds, yeah.
but it happens better for your left side pass. So there's other things that you can choose, but having the option and knowing the option so that you have it in your bag
Bingo.
of tricks.
So there's an over rotation. Another simple one is to go to the side. 2, 3, and 4. We're going to do this in a couple of different ways, right? I could rock to the side and return, right? And if I do this, let me go this way so they can see you and they can see me. So we go 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And you talk about the isolations.
So it's a little bit different. I choose to isolate my hip. I think Brian chooses to isolate the chest a little bit, the chest or rib cage. So if we did that.
We'll both do hips first.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. So it's a little bit of a salsa feel.
Figure 8 action.
Or, yes, figure 8s for sure.
Yeah.
So then if we chose to do the chest or rib cage, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6.
Ooh, since we're there, can we expand on that?
Sure.
Watch this. See if I can lead this. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if I get powerful in this, right, Miss Emily might even feel me continue the 5 and 6 to my right.
Yeah.
Ooh, if I'm powerful enough. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 and 6 and 1. What did we do? Oh, we're gonna do that. We skipped something. We're gonna come back to it.
We didn't, because it goes with the anchor.
Yeah, we forgot. We'll get to it though. So yeah, there's another option. What can I do that's rotated behind, right? Or rather, what we call it, over-rotated. What can I do that goes to the side? Can I rock and return? Can I rock and return using my hip weight? Can I rock and return using my rib cage weight? Or can I just push the rib cage weight all the way through for a triple? Off you go. Cool?
Fun.
But I want to show one more thing along those lines to make it look cool. Here's the bad version first. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. See this foot? If I walk this back from here, I look silly. but I have to retrack it underneath to move from this powerful position off to whatever the walk is going to be.
I like it.
Make sense?
Yep.
Cool. So we have over-rotated. We have to the side with a couple of different variations, layering in the things that we know. Then we have something that's under-rotated. So this would be, depending upon where we land, like Emily said before, it matters what the pattern is before and what happened, what might be the natural thing that I want to do. So if I ended up under-rotated, right? So instead of squaring off the rotation, we were under-rotated. We didn't complete the rotation, right? It leaves this space in front of us to rock forward and back into. So this would be something that I left myself under-rotated for. Now, this could come as a product of the leader leading or allowing for this under-rotation, meaning if I pull this hand square, right, and I square everything off in my body and in my hand, I square my partner off, right? I'm asking for her to be squared off. I could also ask by leaving this hand out here, right, out more this way, so I haven't squared us off. I've left it open and I've allowed for us to rock in front, right? So it could be through the connection. Now, if Miss Emily dances squared off, right, we square the hand off. This is all squared off, right? However, I just allow for my body to be there. Emily has a regular anchor and I can still access that. Or the reverse is true. I square the hand off, I square off, boom, Emily just leaves herself under-rotated and she anchors in front. Cool?
It's one of my favorites.
I do too.
I like it.
So can you talk about how you would allow for that? Can you talk about the followers, like how you would allow for that? So even if the leader's dancing very square, what would you do to allow for that for yourself?
So the biggest thing with any of the anchor variations, which we kind of touched on earlier, is making sure that you have the connection on 4. So once you have that connection and it's solid, you can then kind of do whatever you would like for that 5 and 6 or 7 and 8 for the whip. So from here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm already going to have that right side back a little bit, which is why I like this particular anchor for the right side pass. So if I am connected here on 4, it makes it very easy to cross in front and then step behind to maintain that connection. If my leader is dancing a little bit more square, I'm at that point taking a little bit of artistic liberties if I go into the cross. So if I do this, 1, 2, 3, and 4, even if he's squared this way and I have a little bit more of a neutral position, I can still do a little bit of a cross and step back, but it will not affect, or it shouldn't affect, the leader at all.
And again, like if you take each one of these and see like what's one, legato, staccato, right? Tight versus big, open, flowy, footwork versus body. This tends to be one that if we leave a lot of room here, right? There's a lot of room to dance body into that,
Yes.
right? If, to Emily's point, for some reason it's a faster song and it's tighter, boom. It doesn't mean I can't access it, but now it's going to be more in a footwork way rather than a body way. Mm-hmm. Music speed would have a lot to do with that. Like the slower, the slower types of songs you get, you're going to have a lot of room, and you might even get to run this right off the camera, right?
I love that one.
Yeah, because especially with the slower music, we have to do something to eat it up, and so we can actually move across the floor quite a bit. So we have over-rotated, side, under-rotated. Do you want to talk sweep action? Or is that the next thought? What's the next thought?
Not the sweep action.
Got it. What's your next thought?
Well, we talked about doing the swivel, what does that say? Swivel step?
I don't remember what that was. Let's backtrack to something we forgot, which is something that, as we talked about the body roll, one of the things we didn't spend a lot of time on, just because it's not super applicable, but it is in one place, was if we took this kind of full-on body roll from the front. Let's actually do that. Everyone stand on let's actually both go this direction. Onto the right foot, right? Imagine we're up against a wall. And I'm going to peel my head just away a little bit, just my head a little bit. Then I'm going to roll my shoulders back. Then I'm going to release my shoulders and let my head come back. Head, shoulders. Now I'm going to peel away from my rib, and we're making this big and ugly. I'm going to peel everything away from my rib Now I'm gonna relax my hips, and I'm gonna swing or stand up through my knee. So I'm gonna do that one more time. I start forward, I tick the head like you'd be at a nightclub, which we can't do anymore. You go, hey, what's up? That's the start of it. Hey, what's up? That's the tick. And then I roll back, 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 back. I leave my weight on the front foot till I'm stretched away from this hip. Now I step back and I swing my hips underneath me. This is the fun part, especially in a group class. Push your hips forward, pull them back. Push hips forward, and you're doing this by yourself. I have a story about this, but I'll leave it out.
That's
right?
terrible.
Boom. It's really fun in a group class. I don't let anyone sit and watch when we do this in group class. I only use that way no one can make fun of us.
Participate.
Yeah. Actually, here's the fun story. I do this in a class. This is back pre-internet. You might have heard the story. Back pre-internet. I'm doing this big body roll class, like 70 people. And at one point, I get home. This is in Germany. And I get home and I get a letter, like a letter to me. And it says, "Dear Mr. Barakowskis." So I tell people you need to practice this alone at home in front of the mirror with no one watching. Right? Because you got to awkward and you got to practice moving your hips and you got to do, and you're going to look silly.
Isolation.
So go home in front of your mirror with no one watching. And so I get this letter in the mail months later, and it says, "Dear Mr. Barakowskis, I recently came home to my wife, and I heard like kickball, change, and body roll." And she was apparently practicing the steps that I taught. And she says, the guy says, "I go upstairs, and I walk in, and there's my wife in front of the mirror. I thought dancing was something you did on a dance floor, you know, with other people, and what are you teaching my wife?" Weird letter back in the day.
They're German. It's okay.
So I just pocket this and I start telling the story. I was like, hey, I taught this, and so I added the story. Make sure you practice this in your bedroom in front of the mirror with the door locked. I start telling people this because I think this is very important now since this gentleman got upset. And so I tell this story. It's a year later, and a little old lady starts laughing in the background.
It was her.
And this little old lady had sent me this letter just to mess with me. And I told that story, so I've now told that story for probably 10 or 15 years.
That's hilarious. No, I
Yeah.
did not know that story.
So you want to practice this little isolation, right? And the reason why I want to practice this, imagine, we'll make this awkward. Imagine you're peeling yourself away, right? I want to peel myself away. Yep, peel yourself away. It's good off of a wall. So the reason why I like this is from both the leaders and the follower standpoint. Now you can discuss from the follower standpoint the little roll that people get in the anchor.
Yeah, so it is initiated up top. This is not a base-oriented thing. So from here, it ends with the base, but it starts with the head or the shoulders. So from here, as we anchor, we have 5 and 6. We're going to start that little tick with the head if you want, and then the shoulders roll, and that extends into the 6 for your anchor. So 5 and 6 goes back a little bit to your foot.
Same thing can happen from the leader standpoint. It's more so from the followers. I think you see it more. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. So this is the pressure, 6 and 1. I thought you were coming forward. But that's when you'll see, and you'll see it at a lower level, and you'll physically see it. You'll see this big roll, right? And so you shouldn't see this gigantic roll. You should just see this little isolation in the body.
It is very subtle.
It's very subtle, so you're still moving organized. So the leader or follower is still moving organized as they move through. But rather than moving very stiff, there will be a little bit of a subtle undulation. That's probably the right word.
It is. It is. Yeah, and it's not going to be big because you also don't have a lot of time for it. So the more time you have, the more you can kind of make that a bigger deal. But since you only have about a count to do this, it's going to be a much smaller tick. Again,
You have to master this like by itself, so you can work your head just by itself. My neck hurts today, but a little tick of the head, right?
And this is when we did the body isolation class with Megan. I think you and Megan face this way and go off the wall, and I actually go to the wall.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you're stacking yourself up to the
So
wall.
I go about an inch from the wall, and then my head hits the wall, and then the rest of my body has to follow behind.
Or, I think of it, there's a wall in front, and you're peeling yourself away. That's a good way. Either peel yourself from the wall or plaster yourself to the wall.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting though, because it comes out the same. It's just how you think about it.
Think about it, yeah. Do you move from the base or do you move from the top? I don't know, it's how you think about it. Both are correct.
And then you have to peel off, once you're on there, you peel off to come up.
To come back up. Yeah, so we forgot that. That should have been the segue between the body isolations and the anchor steps. So sorry, that was a little bit out of order.
It's okay.
So anchor step variations. We had behind, right? Where we used the standing foot to create a behind option. Then we had the side option, right? Where we go side and together. And then we could do that in a couple of different ways, meaning we could think like hip and back. We could also think about rib cage and back. And then we could think about that, again, if the leader or the follower drives this, you end up with those types of triples. And you see that a lot, right?
Because they're fun.
Yeah, and it's just so you can kind of visually see. I'm going to put you right there, right? As we go 1, 2, 3, and 4, like Emily can feel my body, even though we're not touching, right? But even through here, she can feel if I'm aggressive with that action, more staccato, more aggressive, she can feel my weight, and it might make her want to triple.
Yeah, and again, followers, going back to the watching his body, the more that you kind of not ease into that, but give a little bit of a hint that you're going to go that direction, it's easier to follow as well. So just pay attention to what's happening in the upper body, especially on the anchors.
Yeah, and this is, again, a little bit beyond the scope of making this a communicatable thing, but this, again, if I leave this there, I'm telling my partner that she's staying there. She can do whatever she wants, right? But I'm leaving her there. If I am, however, moving this hand, I'm asking her to go. So there will be quite a bit of communication through the hand.
Driving force.
This is another thing that, an epiphany for me in West Coast Swing, and I'll save the story out of it, but just at its highest level, it is not purely lead follow, which is what we're taught in the beginning, right? Please follow for crying out loud. Please, sir, lead for crying out loud. Or ma'am nowadays, however you want to slice it up, right? But there's a very lead and follow. But the beautiful thing about West Coast Swing at its highest level, it is much more of a conversation, meaning Emily could take this 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And whatever I'm feeling from her, I'm going to start to go with. Does that make sense? So in that moment, I'm using the connection to work off of what she is giving me. And I've heard some high-level dancers, they actually like to dance with people who take some chances on the other side, if they're good enough, because that leaves it less up to me as the leader. I have to decide that we're under-rotated. I have to decide to add the variation. I have to decide what pattern's next. But as Emily starts to take some liberties, she starts to tell me where this is going to go, right? So I feel the action from, whoop.
Battery died in the camera.
Did it?
Oh no!
Hi, everybody.
Can you still hear? Hello.
They can.
Sorry, gang.
We'll be back.
It just happened.
Well, I guess we know that 2 hours straight is the limit for the camera battery.
They missed your full pattern in there, though.
Are we back on?
Oh no! We'll have to do it again.
Are we back on?
Just a second.
Huh.
It's also the high.
Are we back?
Is Ben? Do you see Ben? There we go.
What's up, gang? Super sorry. So now we learned 2 straight hours is the dumping point for the battery. Cool.
All right, we're back
so
now.
yeah, what we talked about was the follower can actually initiate some of that. So as the leader, if I'm connected, right, I can feel. Right, so that hitch that I led it because I felt her body weight moving. As she did all this business, I felt her body weight landing back heavy, right? So it didn't feel like I wanted to walk right away. It felt like I wanted to let that body weight go back and use my hitch. But the reason why we go through all this stuff, if I don't have that hitch in my back pocket cold, I can't pull it out on a dime like that and be connected. So I have to master this within my body. I have to master it doing very basic stuff, right? And practice the hitch that way. And then as we start to level things up, you can work off of one another, and as the leader, I can work off of the follower.
Yeah, because if you're watching any of the high level Jack and Jills, or even just novice level Jack and Jill, you'll see quite a few people kind of trying to do more sweeps and kind of different angles and positions with their body. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and you'll see hitches used a lot to kind of make up for that time.
A lot. What else is on your list, Miss Emily?
Which goes into sweeps.
Sweeps.
Sweeps. So do you want to do one of the patterns? Let's say maybe like the...
Yep.
So instead of doing our normal anchor, if we did this, instead of an anchor step, you can do your sweep. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and sweep around. But as you saw in the very first time we did it, whether you do an anchor or a sweep, it doesn't really matter as long as that connection isn't messed with.
Mm-hmm. So to level this up, because most of us have probably seen this type of a sweep action, right? So really anything, 1, 2, 3, and what did I say? You can, not your kiss thing. Anyways, I can leave out the beginning part of the triple. Triple step, right? So that would be the sweep. Triple step. I'm leaving out the triple or the 2 parts of the beginning of the triple. So that's where the sweep comes in. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Triple step. Now as the leader, I chose to step in front, and I can do my basic walk, walk. However, if I use that sweep and I land in front and I land on the ball of my foot, right? Then instead of this being 6 and this being 1, 2, I can make this be 6, this be 1, and then do my and 2 of my hitch. Ooh. So now as the leader, I have something like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 1, and 2, which you will see a lot. So again, if I wanted to practice this, I could practice some sort of an anchor that goes 5 and 6, where I'm cut across in front. My weight's on my right foot. As I push this right heel to the ground, that's my 1. Then my body tracking across goes and to my left foot 2. So if I did this standing still, I'd go 5 and 6, hitch 1 and 2.
You'll see that a lot.
You'll see that a lot, right? And what's happening, it's the incremental weight transfer of my foot. So this is 6, this is 1, but you can see my body is already moving back, so it lands on the and 2. Then if I get super fancy, right, I can land that foot and even start to add some swivels. Woo!
What?
Does that make sense? So I'm just layering on things. So I have to, again, yada yada. We know our sweep, and I'll let Miss Emily cover a follower sweep. But if I can get to this position, this becomes my 1, and I'm tracking my body back, so I land on the left foot for and. If I'm really good, well, if I'm basic, I could land 2. That's pretty cool. If not, I could dance a 2 and then continue on with whatever else I had. Cool? Do you have a followers option?
I do. I have 2. So when we do our sweeps, we can either cross behind or we can cross in front. So the cross behind, we'll just do it from here. If you cross behind, you're already in the position. If you did a normal anchor, you're ready to go. If you wanted to cross forward this way, like Brian did as the leader, you can actually release the leg and then step through for the 1.
Oh, fancy schmancy.
Right? So from here, this is our 5, 6. That would have to be on the and 1, 2.
And a hip walk at that.
Because if you're over your foot, you can do whatever you want. So from here, like I said, you can do the sweep and step behind if you don't have a lot of time or if you just want to do that. Or you can do the sweep in front from here, and that will, that will enable you from this position, that's your 6, release on and step forward for the 1. So that would be a toe to heel step, and you can do whatever you would like after that.
That's beautiful. Which pattern would you like me to lead you in so you could do that?
Same one's fine.
Right side pass or this one? Ooh, fancy schmancy. One more time.
Release. So as he releases his leg back, you have a little bit of a faster movement, but you still have the, I don't know, it looks cool together, so why not?
Voila. And even a little bit like she's actually, the way that I was doing this and leading the 1 and 2, this leg for the follower actually comes out on a 1 and 2, right? So that ends up being matched, at least it was the way we just did it right there.
Yep.
There we go, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, right? As I pull this out, it takes some time. That's my 1, and then we both go and 2, and it's a sugar push piece of cake. Any questions so far? We got a couple minutes left, then we have a Q&A. How many people are still hanging out with us, Mr. Ben?
6.
There's still, hey, you guys have hung tight, the group. Super cool.
Saturday afternoon.
What else is on our list? That is basically all that we intended to cover. What is the missing piece?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to cover, I don't know if we have time,
Yeah.
is doing different hitch options.
Go for it.
So, kind of like what you just did. You did your little, so it is a different timing. But if we're doing the hitch at any point, so from here, there's a little bit of you can lift the leg to move into that. 1 and 2. It's fun. 1 and 2.
Such a good
3
follower.
and
That was such a good follow.
Whew, my core is getting a workout today. It's good. Yeah, so just different options like that.
Yeah, because I'm the fundamental guy and she's the fun person. So think, again, boring stuff. It's the weight through this foot, right? Without, to whoever asked before about moving your hip beyond your foot, right? I'm organizing this and maybe even stretching my hip back and my body is staying above. At some point, though, I'm going to release all of this weight beyond my foot. It's time to take the step. So I have to master that in my basic and understand where, at what point as my body's moving is enough that I have to take the step and my partner has to take the step with me, right? So if I can master that in something boring, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, and just understand where that comes from a walk and really feel that, right? And I understand where that position comes, then I can allow the connection to move back and build it. We hear the 1 come up and we go, uh-oh, we got to catch up. And 2, and there's my hitch, right? Now I've started to create my hitch through that. Then, as we go on, I don't know what we're going to do. Right? I'm leading the hitch, Emily's leading the styling, maybe I didn't even style, whatever it is, and off we go. But you're going to feel that within the partnership if you've mastered the previous part. So what are some other options? You said you had some other.
Yeah, so really anything that keeps your left or right foot free. So, but one of the things, if we just did a regular hitch, make sure that you're not from here, the core is more going back and not the bottom, if you will. Until you get more comfortable with that, then you can pop the booty out as much as you'd like to go into that. So that's another option.
And you're still splitting. One thing is going one way, one's going the other.
Yes.
Right? One's going one way, one's going the other. Globally.
Exactly.
Even when my hips are going around this way, my rib cage is actually working opposite of it. Oh, that's bad with the bad back.
Well, don't do that then.
Got it. What else you got? Take a sip.
So we have the normal hitch, which is just the core going back. We have the booty bump, if you will, if you want to do that. The hitch with the leg is another cool one. And I think that's probably good for now. Practice those and we'll come back to you with more options. The other one that we talked about was the little hitch into the slide.
Oh yeah, so anytime we talk about leaving out, a couple different things we talked about and putting them all together, right? Changing our levels, right? So as I change my level, if you're going to jump, what's the first thing you do? You lower into the leg to be able to jump. So if I were to load up a leg low, right, I could drive my partner into something. So if I dance something like a sugar push, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Then from this, I could take her up for 5, move her over for and land on 6. So you kind of create this global up and over. If we do it this way, I'll have you facing me. So we do sugar push to count 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to load into this, and my partner will feel me load into this. And then as I place this foot and I take this up and over 5 and 6, and I can use my isolations of my upper body, 5 and 6. So now we're talking about like the sweep, leaving out the footwork, right? We did this one where we moved through it, but we could go 1, 2, 3 and 4, a 5, 6. So even how these things work, options, right? Let's say as the follower, you feel your leader driving you that way. The leader's doing this. But you feel something different in the music. You just want to go up and over. We go 1, 2, 3, and 4. You feel him drive you, triple step, but you just go up and over. Hint, hint.
I thought I was.
Did you triple? Oh, you did?
I tripled it. I did 2 humps.
Oh, there you go. Lucky you.
But
Bingo. Yeah, so you have all those options, but I think also one of the things that probably is a departure from my early days of West Coast swing is West Coast used to be much faster, and they used to have a lot more syncopations. You'd see side passes that go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. And you saw all these things. That is probably not the style, so hopefully we haven't done too many syncopations. In fact, almost none.
no, but I have more for you, so next time.
Yeah, but I think largely what you see is a lot of leaving things out, right? And that's why I like the global body movements and taking up space with our hips and our tops and leaving things out. 1, 2, 3, and 4, a 5, 6, right? You get a lot of this stuff, and that leads to this type of stuff. And then you have this type of stuff. So again, styling is a little bit off topic, but on any of the moves that you know, I can dance this roll in, pop out, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, very staccato, right? I can also dance 1, 2, 3, and 4, and, right? And because I've prepared myself, I can now dance this in a much different way. And that's off the topic of anchors. Any other questions? I think we'll jump into Q&A, because that is a pretty good, that's a pretty good splattering of
That's
things.
a lot.
You all want a quick break before we jump in?
I'm good. Let's just cozy up a chair, and if you guys want, we're here for Q&A. It could be anything related to this. It could be not related to this. And then for those of you guys who are watching, here's what's going to go on. I'm going to put together in this. You can bring that up. It's cool. We're going to put together a PDF of any of the other resources we talked about. Miss Megan will cut this video up into the footwork, body isolations, and anchor step sections, and it will be available in this. So right where you watch the intro video, you'll be able to, you'll see in essence 3 videos there, probably hopefully by tonight when we download this video and pop it up. You'll have those 3 videos, so the replays will be there forever for you. And in below this is a tab that says About, and then there's a tab that might say Resources, and that currently has a downloadable PDF with the link to this video. That link will no longer work after today, so thank you for your support. But the replay videos will be available in your account. In place of that PDF, I'll put an outline of this so you can kind of know what is in what section, and I'll also include any of the other relevant videos. Like we've got a really good video on the hitch step that really goes in detail, leaders and followers, everything about the hitch step. We've got another one for, let's say, rolling through the feet video. So anything relevant to what we talked about, we'll pop the links to those videos in there so you have access all that. And as Ben cuts around the corner, oh, you do have the voice. Did you grab the mic? Yeah. Good man. So if you guys have questions, pop them in, and we will answer them as Ben adjusts our. And again, it could be styling related. That'd be preferable. If not, we will. We'll talk about whatever for a little bit. Yeah.
Do you want to pipe or pop your mic off real quick so you can hand it to Emily when she's answering?
Yeah. Let's put it on the side.
Need our pin mic.
Hang on. I'm gonna go off camera. Talk to us, Ben.
So for those of you interested,
There we go. Yeah, like we've done for some of our Q&As, we have just given a State of the Union, and so lots of stuff has changed since our last Q&A.
Yeah.
In that we are, can you hold that for just a second? Sure. This is all threaded through me, and I'm trying to yank it up so we can access it a little bit better. Just thread it through. Bingo. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, hook it back, please. So, yeah, we're open here at Dance Level. That's great. Business is back to about 70% of normal. So it's basically kind of business as normal for private lessons minus group classes
No
and
group classes?
we have mini group classes, like under
Yeah.
10 people, and no social dancing. So that's a win. That'll get us through. We're excited about that. Things feel good,
Yeah.
I would say. What else? We are, a lot of you guys know we do quite a bit of country dancing, so we are trying to pioneer a safe first step into competition. So we're doing a very, very small event called the Corona Dance Challenge, otherwise known as CDC. Yeah, it's got a cute little logo. So that's going to be the last weekend of October, the last Saturday. It's a one-day deal. We're probably expecting somewhere between 30 and 50 people. Just here in the Midwest, some people that we know, we're not making this a big thing, but people that feel comfortable in taking a first step back. And so we hopefully pioneer just a competition, no social dancing. If we do a workshop, it might be in a either a line dance workshop or something like a lecture style workshop. So it's a first step. It's a first step in to kind of see the people who are out there dancing and what they might like
Give
to.
our people a
Yeah.
chance to dance.
Any questions? No questions. All right. If we don't have any questions, we'll hop off. I got some lessons. It's a big dance day here at Dance Louisville for me.
For you?
Yeah. We do.
Trish and Holly both said thanks and they loved it.
Oh, good.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, it was super fun. I'd like to do. Yeah, we'll do more of these. I like this format. We'll tweak it depending upon what's necessary. There's so many different topics that could be covered. But this is a good one, and we approached it in a little bit of a different way. I like we further
it.
into the isolation stuff. When you get into this, you realize how many, when you're trying to create like a living, breathing resource, like how deep you can go into a subject.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and as you can see, we got a little sidetracked for some things, but it all kind of, it comes back together.
Melds together.
He's just chilling.
All right. Let's talk amongst ourselves. What's going on, Benjamin?
Ben bought a house.
Tell the internet.
How's that relevant to dancing?
People.
Tell the internet. Yeah, I kind of almost on purpose, kind of on accident bought a house. So there's that.
Congratulations. That's good. During COVID, that's good times.
I ended up having to go back to work with my adaptation for COVID. So I'm back at Amazon working there in human resources and
So you have to go to work there? It's
Yep.
not a work from home?
Yep, I'm in the
Oh.
building. Everybody wears masks all the time, 6 feet apart. You're wiping down your station all the time. It's a lot, but it's really good as far as health concerns are.
That's great. Yeah, same thing in Dance Louisville. We have masks, wipe stuff down, try to be as safe as possible. But we're certainly like around less people than we ever have been, all of us. Like way, you go
Well,
from.
there's less mingling in the studio.
Yeah, I used to go out, from out to eat once a day to like once a month. Like literally, I've probably been out. I used to eat out every single day, and now I'm like, I go out once a month. I can count on, or the amount of people's hands that I've shaken. It's probably like less than 3. Yeah, I've fist bumped a few people, but only a few shaken hands.
Yeah.
Sweet. So we have no more Q&A questions that we do. I like it.
Will masks be required at the comp?
Yeah, so the current view of the comp is yes, everyone in the room will be required a mask. We will, I think the consensus will be that the competitors, while they're on the floor, will not be wearing masks. I think
It's
is
optional.
is optional.
But then once they step off the floor, they will have to
Yep.
put back on.
Yeah, and so we're going to try to cordon off the particular areas. So let's say if you're from Dance Louisville, you would in essence sort of be exposed to the same people. Like if you took a lesson from me today and someone else took the lesson from me Friday, okay, well great, we're accepting that little group. So our Dance Louisville group would be in a cordoned off section.
Have assigned seats.
So the unfun thing about it is it will not be like it used to where everyone congregates and sits around and talk shop, but we will segment the group. So if a few people come from Nashville, they will have their own group and section, and we'll probably have assigned seating so everyone's spaced out. And we've kind of learned this through some people that have run some ballroom comps so far. And
Yeah, we've talked to a couple of different people as far as ballroom competitions that they've attended and have been very well attended from what it sounds like. So all of these things were taken into account and kind of put into a scenario that works for us.
Yep. And again, like we're not trying to, we figure pick the event that you love, right? It's probably not going to the next, if Derby City Swing has had 600 people here in Louisville. The next time Derby City Swing runs, it's likely not going to be the exact same. It's not like there's going to be a date where it's going to be the exact same. Likely, sort of like the studio, it's closed, and then we have a few people come back and a few people more. So my goal is before events, the regular events that we attend, you know, are quote unquote normal, let's create a small-ish, very small group, and then hopefully as things improve over time, maybe that event could be run every couple months and it could get to a few more people until the regular events are back on our calendar, and then we don't need our stepping stone anymore.
How will spectators work at the event?
Yeah, so again, this is a work in progress because we still haven't officially, I guess, internally, we've officially announced it. We haven't put it, again, we haven't made this out super public just because we're keeping it to the group of people that's coming. I'm kind of not encouraging spectators. Like the less people, the better, right? The competitors and a handful of judges and the absolute minimal amount of staff in the room necessary to be there, including check-in process will just be an online deal and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of discouraging spectators, but if we do have a spectator pass available, and so if there are people that are going to come watch Susie dance, same thing. We'll have, you know, like assigned seating for spectators with big distances for people. So we'll probably have a few seats in the ballroom, but
Yeah, we do not have much space as far as allotting seats for people that already that are dancing, basically. So there will be tables and there will be assigned seats. From what I've understood from talking to the ballroom people and all of that stuff. So there will be a limited number. Again, I don't think it's going to be super big, so I don't think we'll have to worry about going over those numbers, but obviously people do want to watch you guys and cheer on your favorite people, so yeah.
there you go. Super small. I would guess like, what, 30 to 50 people max?
That's what you said.
And that's probably the max amount of people. And like, will all those people be in the room at the same time? Probably not even. Probably not even. So about as safe as we can get. I know that there have been, I've heard that there are social dances in places in the country that are probably much larger than the Corona Dance Challenge will even be. And we will not have that type of personal interaction. So yeah, I tend to be a little bit of a fraidy cat.
Yeah,
Not that I personally care, like I feel okay, but like I think our responsible place in the community is to be like 2 steps out of this way while still moving forward. Would you say that's been about our groove? Like we've still kept moving forward, but we've always been like, you know, if they let us have 50 people in the studio, we had 10. If they let us have 10, we had 2. So we've been safe, but we've always continually moved forward as things been okay.
Well, we'll work with the hotel as well, because they have a couple of things that they require and all that stuff, so.
Could go straight hazmat suits.
No, we're not. With rhinestones.
That'd be funny. Cool. Thanks, gang. Any other parting questions? Good deal.
Yeah, because next time we'll talk about Sealed with a Kiss.
Oh, yeah. All right. Bye, guys.